Hi everyone, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters. Today we're going to be building a kit from Academy Models. This is the 35th scale Swedish Infantry tank, the CV90. It's kind of a cool, kind of space age looking vehicle. It has a 40mm Bofors autocannon on it, so it can really lay down a lot of, although small arms like that, really kind of just a cool space age looking tank. The color scheme on it too is kind of got like a geometric shape on it, which will probably do this one, although I was looking online and there's quite a few other cool paint schemes as well. So let's get started on it. As we start the construction on the vehicle, you'll notice right off that it is once again a bathtub style hull, which means that the sides of the hull as well as part of the sponson are already in place. Now here we're going ahead and just attaching all of the suspension arms, and they all fit right in. They've got a nice little witness mark on it to make sure they all line up and stay in a nice position. The wheels are 3 pieces, as well as having a poly cap, which I like having because once you have the poly cap inside, you can take the wheels on and off. And the rubber is quite thick on this particular one, so it'll be easy to take these wheels off, paint them separately, pop them back on after we're done. Okay, I thought I would take a couple minutes and talk to you about the tracks that come in the kit. First of all, they do come with 2 different types of tracks, which I appreciate in a kit. That way you get the option to do it the way you want, which one you think is the best. First of all, they do give you rubber band tracks inside, and they are the type you have to melt together. I melt it together, and then I always back it up with a few extra staples. And not too worried about the staples because they're actually hidden behind the side skirts, so you'll never see them inside there. And they fit pretty good, and actually are not too bad looking because of the amount you're actually going to see. Little cleanup isn't too bad. Now they also include with it in the kit the individual tracks, which I have right here, and pretty easy assembly. You just pop them together, but the center rubber pad is a separate piece. Now that'll make it a little bit easier when you go to paint the tracks too. I started gluing together some of the tracks, and they go together just as you would expect them to. And I was just kind of show you the easiest way to glue these tracks up is just to take them off the sprue, start gluing them up in pairs. Now these haven't been glued together. I've just kind of pushed them together and just putting a little touch of glue on each one, and then building them up from that point on. Because if you try to stack too many of them and brush a lot of glue on, they have a tendency to get a little wonky and a little crazy. In fact, my recommendation too is as you start to build little sections, take something very straight and just make sure you line up the track with it, because the tracks sometimes have a tendency to like flare out that if you're not paying attention, and they'll just not fit on the wheels very well. So what I'll probably do on this is I'm going to build up at least one set of we have the rubber bands already done, and one set of the individual tracks, and kind of show them to you side by side on the kit to see that the rubber bands don't look too bad, especially with the side skirts and all the flare on it. But we will put these on as well. So after you let the little pairs kind of glue together, you can start stacking them up and just using a little bit of glue to fill in. And then, like I was showing you earlier, just making sure that you get them as straight as possible. And what we're going to do for this now is on these tracks is you want to let them set up probably for about 3 or 4 minutes, just enough that the glue starts to dry, but the tracks are still very soft and pliable. And that way we're going to get it to wrap around the drive sprocket and the return idler in the back. The bottom obviously will just lay flat on the bottom. That's not a big deal, but you do want to get it to wrap around completely inside there. So I'll come back in a couple minutes after these have a chance to set up and show you how they wrap around. So just real quickly, I'll kind of show you how these go on. So these have now set up for probably about 4 minutes now, and you can see we still have quite a bit of pliability with this track. So what you basically want to do is just using your finger, start to get the general shape that you want. And then once you do that, you can kind of go down the line and just kind of fit them into place here. And then of course attach the rest of them and do the exact same thing for the drive sprocket. Is if you can get them just to kind of dry in this position in small sections, kind of like, if I can wrap that around a little bit more, and just enough that it's going to stay in the right position without actually gluing onto it. This way it'll make it a little bit easier putting the tracks on later. Now also, I have not attached the pads because we're going to paint these a separate color, and the pads are black, just black rubber. So we can attach those after we have painted all of this portion up. So what I'll do is I'm going to finish up the rest of the track, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, as we start to assemble the upper hull, you can see here that Academy has given you quite a few removable panels in this kit. And this makes it good that if you're going to ever do a diorama or anything that you want to have all these parts open. Also, too, you can see like the no skid pads that they've also installed on there. And then finally, they also give you some photo etched pieces that I've already glued into place right here, right on top of them. Those just lock into place here. So what I'll do is, oh, and also the back hatches, all of these parts work as well on it. So that if there's an engine you want to put in or things like that down the road, that's all available. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the rest of these hatches on and come back and show you attaching it to the upper hull. Real fast too, I thought I would just give you a quick little builder's tip. Putting these panels in, there's not much meat for it to grab onto. It does lock into place a little bit, so the easiest way I found to glue these is to pop them in dry, hold it with your finger, flip it over, and then put just a little bit glue up on the inside here. This way you won't get any glue on the top portions of the hatches. At this point we're going to start the assembly on the turret. I built part of the barrel here obviously already, and it comes with a nice turned aluminum barrel. Just have to add a little bit of plastic parts up front here in this part to give it a little bit of detail. As we put this in, the way they've designed this is, got to be very careful as you're gluing these little pegs in, because you don't want to accidentally glue the barrel in one position. So I think if we can get one in there really tight, and then just making sure that this is still wobbly so that you make sure you didn't, no glue got on it. And I think what we can do is just go around the outside edge just with a light amount of glue just to keep that in place. And then we'll work on the other side too. Now this is not too many parts on this on the turret, but it's a very cool looking turret, just the way everything's designed on it. So what I'll do right now is kind of show you all the parts going on it. I've decided I'm going to go ahead and glue the bottom portion of the turret on, because I still have access from the bottom, because it's a big enough opening down there that we can still apply all of our glass clear parts inside, as you can see inside here. All those little areas right in through there, we can still pop them right back inside. This way we can kind of get the general feel and shape of the entire vehicle. And this last little flap right here, I'm going to leave it off as well, because it gets painted black. It's kind of like a rubberized shielding to protect the gun. And also in that little area in there is clear parts that we're going to leave off too until we're done. So here we are. Here is our primarily completed model. We have left the tools off and a few other little pieces that we'll glue on afterward that'll just be a lot easier to paint without them on. Kind of give you a little rundown. We do have the photo etch on the side here. There's some photo etch steps, and of course that photo etch screening that I showed you earlier. But all in all, is a pretty straightforward and easy kit to put together. Nice part fit. Everything just went together really quick and easy. Now, and these are some of the other parts I was talking about too. These are the side skirts that we will put on later, but that is after we paint all the inside of there, put the tracks on, then we'll attach these. It's just going to make it a lot easier for painting and trying to get the tracks on without breaking these off. So now that we have the vehicle with the primary construction done, and oh, before I forget too, we also do have the ability still to put all the vision ports in, the clear plastic parts. So we will do that also later on as well. So now that we have it all built up, and let's start painting on it. Also wanted to take a couple of seconds and show you the tracks and how they'll go on. Now I've told you I wasn't going to complete the entire length across because you're not going to see it, but it's very nice having those poly caps, and with the poly cap in place you can put that, take the drive sprocket off, pop that right on there, and then you can pop this portion into place, and we'll be able to paint this now, glue it, and then tighten it up later on once we get it in place. And then finally we'll go ahead and put the side skirt on, which will cover up all that top portion right there. So we're going to leave this off for now, and we'll come back and start painting all these pieces. Now with the poly caps you can remove the road wheels and paint the whole inner side here, and then we'll paint the road wheels separately using your circle template. Now with the wheels off, we can go ahead and use one of our circle templates and get the one that closest matches up, and then we can go and spray the interior portion of this piece right here, and that way all the black will still be remaining on the road wheels. Okay, so what I've decided is, after looking at quite a few pictures online, they had quite a few of the ones of these CV90s painted in NATO colors, and I really like the way the NATO colors look, so I went ahead and used those on it. Now also remember, while you're starting to do the painting, to get your side skirts out, and all I did was just hold them up in place and get the camouflage to blend down, so that way it all makes sense when you put it together. Now I haven't clear coated this yet, and that's going to blend a lot of this color together. I wanted to show you guys the way it looked after that. Plus also, I've started to go ahead and paint the marker lights, the clear orange I used on this one here. They kind of look like an orangish red, and I thought that looked pretty close to it. We'll also go ahead and start putting, after we do the dull coat, we'll go ahead and start putting in all of these clear pieces over the lenses, over the front lights, as well as the periscopes inside there as well. But we don't want to get any dull coat on those because it'll fog them up quite a bit and make them look kind of dull. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and dull coat this now, and then we'll be able to put the decals dull coated again, and then apply all the clear parts. Okay, I'm going to work on the tracks a little bit right now. What I've done is I've taken a little bit of thinner and 2 parts light sienna and 1 part of Vallejo's rust. And we've kind of mixed it together in this little pot right here with a little bit of the thinner. And now we're just going to go over the edges here. Now you'll notice on the track that I have not installed the rubber pads yet. So we can get a little bit into the areas, but try not to get too much on the area that we're going to glue the actual track pad to. And just we're going to highlight all of the different pieces of track, the edges, especially if you go online and look at the pictures of the track on this vehicle. It seems weird, but normally the track you don't see much tarnish on it, but this had quite a bit on it, so we'll try to duplicate that as best as possible. And also you want to keep an eye on making sure you do the inside of the track as well here. So now also, before I did that, I painted the entire track. I just gave it a mist coat of our track color, which is 70% NATO brown, 25% NATO black, and 5% NATO, or excuse me, just flat red. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like once it dries. Okay, what I've started doing now is I've started gluing the pads into place, as you can see on here. The tracks go together very easily on this kit, although there is quite a bit of cleanup on those little tiny pads. It's just that it's hard to hold them and then sand all the sides. So there's quite a few of them we're going to have to put on. So what I also did was I also went ahead and just weathered up one of the sides of the rubber band tracks. Just to show it for the people who are going to just use the rubber bands instead of the other ones. And don't forget, you're only going to see just a tiny little portion of that track. And it doesn't look too bad. Obviously these look a little bit better, and these are the ones we're going to use on the kit, but anyone who wanting to, and after you put the side skirts on, these are not a bad choice after all. And finally, because of the poly caps, we can remove the drive sprocket. We can glue that around the track, get this to come right up inside here, push it into place, and then you just kind of just wrap the track right around and get that to go right into the idler, and then you can pull this tight by grabbing up on top here and gluing all this down. And then after we get that all glued into place, we can go ahead and put the side skirt on. Okay, I'm going to kind of show you the few steps I'm going ahead and doing. I just glued in these clear lenses, so they're a little wet right now. We also glued in our orange lenses on the side, as well as all of the periscopes and of this the clear lens up on top of here. There's quite a few periscopes. There's probably about 14, I believe, in all. Then I also went ahead and glued the side skirts on. Now I did have a little bit of trouble getting the side skirts to stick because there's not a lot of meat for it to grab onto. So after messing around with a little bit of glue in some of these areas right here, I did have to go back with my NATO black and just lightly touch up, because the glue had pulled off, and I didn't want to use super glue, didn't want to make a mess out of it. So we used our Tamiya cement. It did take off just a tiny little touch of paint, but like I said, we patched all that up. Now, like I said, I am in the process of putting the decals on, and we'll just put one coat of the Mark Fit Sure on it, and we'll probably put another one on. Now, I'm in the process right now also of painting up the real tail lights and they're going to get glued into place right up on the two tops of these pieces right in through there. But that's all stuff that we'll do after we put the we're going to take the turret off, as well as take this off, and this is not attached as well, so we'll be able to put one more coat of dull coat across the top just to seal in the decals. We'll block off, I'll put a little piece of masking tape over the lenses, and then we'll be able to come back and put the rest of it together. Oh, also too, I haven't finished putting all of the pads all the way around the entire vehicle. Turns out that's a lot more work than I thought it was going to be, even only having used just, you know, about 60% of the track. The next step we're going to work on a little bit is we're going to take a little bit of our panel liner, and I'm not going to super dirty this vehicle up. I kind of want to leave it a little bit cleaner. I like the way the thing looks, but we are going to use our panel liner to go down the line and kind of highlight some of the areas that you want to see definite separation and things. And that would be anything like, you know, like the barrel right here, or especially around some of these hinges. And then we can also just clean it up with a little odorless thinner too, if it too much gets on anywhere. Not going to go crazy with it. We're just going to do a little bit going over the whole vehicle, just, you know, making things pop out a little bit more. And then the last thing we'll do after that is, after we get all of the panel liner on it, we're going to just mist coat over the entire model with XF57 buff, just to kind of blend everything together and kind of give it just a slight dust coat. Not dirty, but just soften it a little bit. Also, using the panel liner, we can make all these little bolts kind of pop out, and it's alright if you put a little excess on. Just do a little bit at a time, get it in the areas you want, and then take a cotton swab and just kind of go down the line and blot it, and just keep blotting it. And then when you get to the final thing, you can just rub a little bit on it, and you can see how it still has left the rivets and stuff, or bolts, whatever they happen to be, whatever part you're doing on there, how it makes them stick out a little bit more, as opposed to like the way these stick up here. These haven't been done yet, and they're kind of just blend right into the paint job. This gives it a little bit more depth. And if you get any excess like you have right there, just a touch of mineral spirits will, just around the edges there, will clean off any of that edge. Well, here we are. Here is our completed model. I did spray the entire thing with the buff coat, but mainly from directly up above and just slightly on the sides. I didn't want too much to build up on any of the glass lenses, so you can still see the shininess of those. Give you a little turn around here, all the different sides. We put the little markers on the side, the little neon orange markers, as you can see. And the only other last thing I did after the buff coat was I wanted to highlight just a few of the little areas. So I took just a touch of our light sienna, and just the smallest amount on a big thick Tamiya brush, and just kind of went over some of these areas, and you can see it kind of highlights some of the dark areas, the black areas, makes them stick out a little bit more. So all in all, the kit goes together really well. Oh, one other quick thing too, I want to point out, I did put the rubber bands on this side as a comparison, so when I have it in my store for display, I want to show the people the two different ways you can put the tracks on. So like I was saying, I think the kit goes together really well. Very little problems with fit or anything like that. I do like the fact too that Academy gives you either the the individual tracks or the rubber band type for two different types of modeler. Plus, I love the fact that the poly caps on the wheels, as well as the idler and drive sprocket, that really makes it much easier if you are going to do the individual tracks. So I want to thank you as always for watching, and please stay tuned because we have many more videos coming.